Hello, and welcome to our next episode of the Online Entrepreneur Academy podcast. And a huge pleasure today to welcome Alice Chin from Breakthrough Coaching. So I'll hand over to Alice to introduce herself and what she does, and we'll go through some questions with you after that. Thank you, Alice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Susan, for inviting me to be on your podcast. And it's an honor as well as a pleasure. I so look forward to having fun with you through this session.
Thank you.
And and yes, I have founded AC Breakthrough Coaching about 2 years ago at this point. It's 8 to 10 years in the making of my company. And
Goodness.
so it was something that truly I have given thought, sat on it, contemplated, and doubted, right? All those different feelings that I go through whenever anyone wants to start a business of their own.
Yeah, that's good to hear because as we know, so many people hesitate and rethink, but then it can be very quick or it can take time, and there's all different paths, aren't there?
Yes, for sure, for sure. And it was so interesting when I made the decision of starting my own practice and I was sharing it. I started with the soft launch of starting informing my family and friends, my close knit of 100 close friends. And many of them were saying, "Oh wow, that took a lot of courage to venture out on your own." And I guess I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, right.
I just thought that there was something that I was called to do. There's a voice that I like to be a part of to help people bring forward that voice. And so I just took the leap of trust, leap of faith, and just went ahead and started. I never thought about courage. It
No.
was more just I didn't think of any other way of
Got
doing
you.
what I wanted to do.
Yes. And I suppose from someone outside looking in, they would see it as brave, but when it feels right for you, then it's the right thing to do, isn't it? And you mentioned family and friends, and I think a lot of people find that their close contacts aren't supportive. Did you have a supportive
Mm.
experience, or was it a mixture?
Oh, it absolutely was so supportive. And I think that was why I was mentioning that it took me 8 to 10 years to think about it, build up the resources, build up the knowledge base, build up the soft experience, so to say. So practice silently before I really made it out there. And so my family and friends have been witnessing this growth in me and the direction in which I was going. And so that's why when I started sharing my idea out loud, they're like, Alice, this is the natural path for you. This is the
Amazing.
natural next step for you because they've been seeing it throughout the years.
No, that's really great. So before I ask you more about what you're doing now, let's circle back a bit because it's quite a change from the corporate world, isn't it?
Quite, quite. In all senses, in good and bad,
Mm,
right? The good of it is that you have the true autonomy to run the operation as you deem fit. And when I say I deem fit is more in the aspect that how I want to serve my clients,
brilliant.
what they deserve to get from my services. I'm not constrained by a corporate official
Mm,
legal and everything policy and living within that frame, right? The so the freedom of operating, it's really amazing and very freeing. Now, the bad side of that is that freedom enables a blank canvas.
a big
What
blank
do I
canvas there.
Right? And what do I paint on that canvas?
Mm,
And you no longer have a team or someone that you can brainstorm with or trade ideas with, or so at times it does feel quite lonely
yeah,
until you develop that community, that
yeah,
newfound community.
I think that's a very relatable point, isn't it? It can be very lonely.
Yeah, yeah, very isolating feel, even though the coaching market is very saturated. And yet, because we're not going to an office, we're not having these team meetings, we're not, so a lot of it really takes a lot of self-initiative, self-motivation, and just testing things out. And the risk could be more monumental
Yeah,
because when you're working in corporate, you're just a number sometimes, right? And you
true.
make the mistake, it is not as amplified unless you really make a big mistake. But whereas when you have your own business,
Sure.
whatever you try, the success will be great, the failure can be felt as well. So if you don't have the stomach for it, or if you don't have the luxury of those test fail
Mm,
success, those kind of, then it can be very daunting of an
yeah,
undertaking.
that makes huge sense. And a lot of people move gradually, don't they? Still working a little bit in the day-to-day job and then doing their
Yeah,
own thing. But
yeah,
you started from scratch, didn't you? Am I right to say you weren't in the day job at the time when you started?
I
Brave
did. I
lady.
really cut that umbilical cord and went cold turkey.
And no regrets, obviously.
Yeah, and I miss my colleagues. I've been really so fortunate working for some amazing, and that's where I learned a lot from leadership, leading the team, how to lead people, content, marketing, sales, business development, all those things. I just have been really grateful
Mhm.
for all that I have come from and learned from. Yeah.
Yes, and our background builds the next step, doesn't it? Whatever that step is, we're learning all the time. We should be, but I think most people, I hope most people can continue learning. Now,
Yeah.
tell us a bit about it. Now, coaching, as you said, a lot in the coaching market, and then lots of different types of coaching. So let me give you a moment to explain what your coaching does.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. And you're absolutely right. Coaching is just so broad. I went to school for marketing, and marketing is very broad, right? And you have to find your lane. And that was how coaching was. Initially, when I first started, I thought, oh, logically, coming from a corporate background, I will do career coaching.
Yeah,
That
makes
just
sense.
seems to,
Yeah.
right? I came from HR, and so that kind of made sense. However, I think along the way, I have to find where I get my energy from as well. So part of when we decide to choose to start our own practice, not only we think about what are we good at, because that's where the content knowledge has to be, right? Solid.
Yeah.
We also have to think about we have the privilege to have our own business. So for the first time ever, what do I love to do? Where do I draw positive energy from? And so what I found that as I ventured into more and more of my coaching, I found that I drew more my energy from observing what are people struggling with. And right now, with all the disruptions and changes that are happening all around us, both at work and at home and in life, I realize that where I best serve people is to help them adapt to all these changes in whatever form it may be, and help them navigate, adapt to it with still their wellness intact. And what does that mean with their wellness intact? That means they still have to have a healthy mental state, a resilience towards it, so that they can step into their world, be it at work or at home, fully, purposefully, intentionally, not just wake up and back into the hamster wheel again, same old. And then years go by, and then what did I just do with my life?
Yeah.
So that's what I coach. That's what I help my clients do is whatever they are going through, if they need some direction, if they need to figure certain things out, if they're stuck, if they're stressed and burned out, to just understand the why behind it and to develop a plan going forward with greater intentionality and fulfillment.
Amazing. And I love what you said. I know I'm making some notes here. Intention. That is probably where a lot of us fall down. I didn't want to say fail, but not exactly fail, but where we stumble perhaps, not having a clear intention.
Yeah, because that's why my practice is also neuroscience grounded
Mm,
because we all our body is an amazing machine and our brain is an amazing muscle. And so we all just step into our routine because our brain is such a predictive part of guiding us
yes.
in the effort to protect us. But it depends on where you are and what you want to do. Sometimes that predictiveness is really holding you back rather than propelling you forward in the direction you want to go. So that's why the mind, the neuroscience piece is so intriguing for me. And that's why much of what I've practiced is the neuroscience based.
Awesome. And you got yourself qualifications in this field, didn't you, in your field of coaching? Tell us a bit about that experience of retraining or continuing training.
Yeah, thank you. I always feel like I define myself as a lifelong learner
Yeah,
because
snap.
I always feel that we always have things to learn and grow, and that's the growth mindset of us.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and when I decided to become a coach, again, just like what we said earlier, the coaching market is saturated. And if I am to ask someone to pay for the service with me, for me, then I need to demonstrate how to distinguish myself among a sea of other coaches. And the first thing I know when I look for someone, whether it be a doctor or whether it be a coach, I want to make sure they're credible, they're knowledgeable, and where do they get that knowledge from? And from the credibility standpoint, are they certified? Are they trained to
Yes.
do what they do? Because all of us at this phase of our lives, we have experiences in life and from work, right? Professional and personal. So the experience is a given,
Yeah.
we like to hope. So the credential is different. Like I was saying, I got my marketing and all that collegiate experience and education. So now I like to understand if I'm a coach, what does that mean? What does that entail? What is the distinction of a coach and a therapist and a mentor and a consultant? Because they're all different swim lanes.
Yes.
And so to truly be an effective coach, I need to understand the ethics. So I conduct and do justice and service to my client. What is the framework in which coaching is defined under? Because there are certain competencies that you as a coach has to abide by. So it's all those things. And so I got myself certified earlier in the year, but then I figured that wasn't enough. I want to get a global certification. So that was where I am then internationally certified.
That's wonderful because it ties in with a question I was going to ask, which is if I, as a client, a potential client, as anyone out there, what do we need to know when we're searching for a coach? And perhaps that's one of the questions, but let me ask you that question. What does the potential client for any coach in your area need to ask? What will be those questions?
Yeah, I think that that's such an important first step. You're right on point about that, Susan, because one, you need to understand what do you need coaching on? Because if it is career, then there's a career coach. If
Yeah.
you are looking for a job, there's a job search coach. If you're looking for financial assistance, there are financial coaches. If you have a tendency of ADHD, there's an ADHD coaching. So there are, believe it or not, within coaching, there are so many specialization.
Oh, I can imagine.
And and even life coach, which is for me I define myself as a life and transformation coach. I focus on mindset and resilience.
Yeah.
and helping people adapt through the changes. So those are my specialization.
Mm.
And so one, you just need to understand what areas are you looking to be coached?
Sure, that makes huge sense because
Yeah.
so many different. I love the idea of swim lanes. Yes, that's that
Yeah.
created a wonderful picture for me and for the listeners, I'm sure.
And then the next thing is because there are so many coaches out there, you would want to find someone who is certified
Mm.
with the hope that because they're certified, they do understand what it means to be a coach and
Yeah,
what coaching is and what coaching is not, so that they can properly guide you and refer you
yeah,
if the relationship starts evolving to something that is out of the scope of
yeah,
that particular coach. That's the ethical part
yeah. It's
because we
important.
all want to make money. But the utmost of our ethics as a coach is we want to do justice to our client. So when it starts getting where I can no longer serve this client, by ethics, I need to refer that client elsewhere. So that the certification is important. And then you think about would you like to work with a coach virtual or in person? Because then that may narrow down
Yeah,
where you find your coach.
good point. Yes, absolutely.
And I know we live in a very remote, it brings the world closer, but we have to, some people enjoy sitting across someone with a cup of coffee and talk through it, and some feel comfortable with just as virtual. And then
Mhm.
the other question also is on the style. The
Yeah,
chemistry has to be there. And I think that's why every coach, I hope they all do, is that there is the first, what we call discovery session, which is no risk, no commitment, no cost, and just chat with each other because that's feeling each other out. Is the chemistry there? And the reason the chemistry is so important, aside from the knowledge, is that if you don't feel comfortable with your coach and you don't build that trust over the relationship, you're not going to be as open. And when
yes,
you're not as open, you're not going to get as much out of that relationship, out of
yeah.
those sessions. In order for you to be vulnerable and be open and be truthful, that trust and that chemistry has to be there.
That makes huge sense. If we take it back to school days, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've all been in classes in school, and one teacher's been so inspiring because it their teaching method appealed to us.
Yes.
I certainly remember there's only one year in school that I did well in maths because the teacher was, from my point of view, fantastic. But maybe the person sitting next to me didn't enjoy the methods that she used.
Yes, exactly. And I have coaches, peer coaches, who refer clients to me because they feel that they're looking for a coach that aligns more with my kind of style versus. So that's why we built this network of peer coaches where we have different specialization, different styles. So as we come across clients, if it's not a good fit for us, or if they're looking for some different kind of coaching that is not within my swim lane, then I have resources to direct them to, rather than just throwing them back out there to say, sorry, I can't help you. So.
Yeah, that makes huge sense. Now, because I come from an educational teaching background, some of my questions might seem a bit strange. So, in coaching, and it may be different from client to client, but a lot of us don't really understand the process involved. So, I'm just going to ask if someone's with you, they have a session, do they have homework? Do they have tasks they work on? Or does that vary from person to person?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Susan.
Glad it made sense. I was a bit worried.
That was a good one.
Phew, over to you.
You've been asking really good questions. I can see why your podcasts are so valuable.
Oh, great.
The reason I say that is a good question is because too often people think that coaching is just chatting, talking. Yes, there's that involved, but no, there's work. So unless you're committed to doing work, the coaching sessions won't be as effective. So there are, if you like to call it homework, but there are certainly reflections, things to think about. And so, yes, there will be work that comes of it, right? Because one hopes that through sessions, It evokes the awareness. There are things that the conversations start inspiring certain thoughts that you didn't think of before. And through the sessions, we also hope that the effectiveness of it is help the client grow in ways that they weren't able to figure it out on their own. So when we enter into a coaching session, there is a contract in which we all negotiate on and come to an agreement of what do you need coaching on?
Mm.
What would be your goal? And how frequently you want to meet? And what would be the cost, right? And those are all important things to negotiate up front because as you go along the sessions, you always keep that goal, the North Star in mind.
Right.
And so that at the end of that relationship, there's a metric in which you can measure back to, or like in business term, your ROI, your
Mm.
return on investment. What did you get out of investing your time and money in this relationship and in this coaching session, right? So yeah, is there are work to be done, yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And my next question I've got on is how long? And now obviously that varies from customer to customer, client to client, but I can imagine that it might be a case where someone's gone through a very successful set of sessions with you. What's the next step? Are they on their own? Is there another circling back? And no, obviously we appreciate it's different for each person, but is there a normal sort of plan?
No one human is the same as another.
Absolutely.
And
Thank goodness for
yeah,
that.
yeah. The length of the coaching session will be wholly dependent on the coach and the client because it depends on the complexity of what they want to be coached on.
Of course, yeah.
What I have found from the times that I have coached, and I've coached over 100 hours of, and there are many more coaches that's coached even more. But what I found is that I have some clients because their life is continuously evolving. They don't know how many sessions that they need because they don't have one big goal. They just need help to just live into the life with all the things that are happening in their lives. And so those clients I have kept on an ongoing monthly or bi-weekly cadence. And again, that's always at the decision of the client. There are some, if they are very clear about a particular thing that they need help with. I often found at the minimum 6 sessions because the first few sessions, you're just acclimating, you're just settling in. You're not really working it, you're just still discovering it. And that discovery is coming from those conversations and from the questions that I ask them. And so when they really get into working it, it comes to like fourth or fifth session. And then next thing they know, they're like, oh my goodness, my 6 sessions are coming to an end. And so then they get to renew or they say, okay, let me live into it a bit and then recontract again. So I find that it varies, but typically if they really want to work on a particular thing, the minimum would be 6 sessions. And that's why my offers, the minimum packages
Mm.
is 6 sessions.
Yeah, that
And
makes
yeah, and I know commitment is very hard for people to make, especially into something they're not familiar with.
mm,
And but once they sign up for the 6 and they get going, so far all of my clients who sign up for the 6, when it is their fifth session and I let them know our next session is our last one, so it's gonna feel different. And we're gonna summarize, and they're like, no, it's already the end. So
oh, devastating. Yeah. No, that makes huge sense. And I'll take the opportunity to remind our listeners to, and if you're watching on YouTube as well, just look below and you'll find the connections to Alice's website because it's all detailed there. I must say I loved your webs. I love your website, which brings me to the next question, more about the business side. Now, you said that you come from you studied marketing, which obviously gives you a huge advantage. So, for someone starting their own business, what are the things to look out for? It'll be different for everyone, but anything to look out for? How difficult is it to do everything yourself, to get a team?
yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it is a lot of work.
Please don't.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it is daunting. I think and it was so funny, I was just talking with a client yesterday about this. I think at the get-go is you certainly have a vision. You also need to stay organized, and there's a methodical way to approach it, right? You start with the vision, then you need to develop that strategy that lines out your plan and a timeline because you can't just keep going forever of testing, so to say. Once you have the vision and get yourself organized and strategize, understanding what your timeline looks like, understand your appetite and your financial position, because recognizing that in the beginning, you are probably going to operate more at a loss than you will be at a profit. And are you able to support that? Because all too often, a lot of coaches that start, they, after the first year or year and a half, certainly less than two, they're like, why am I not making money? And so then they go back to their full-time job and give up the coaching. So I think once you have the vision and that commitment that comes with it and understanding what you laying out that timeline, what your goals are. So you set your signpost, those are your metrics. And if you recognize the reality of the pros and the cons of starting your own business, if it is something where you have to do part-time while you're still holding something stable from a financial sense, by all means do that. But if you are able to be independent, to focus full-time, recognize that you are going to go through a period of loss and don't get discouraged. Perseverance and patience, I think those are really the two key. I tag patience on my desk, right by my monitor, because we live in a culture of instant gratification,
Yeah, true.
right? And so building a business, my dad was an entrepreneur. He started restaurants and he put in a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours. And people romanticize about having your own business.
Yes,
But yeah, and that's beautiful. That's really what motivates many of us wanting to have our own business, but also have a foot in reality
yeah.
because you don't want to shock yourself.
No, good advice. And in terms of the marketing, without asking your marketing secrets per se, but do you find that it's good to only use social media or use other avenues, to use local media, print, and that sort of thing? Any advice there? Obviously different for different businesses, but
Yeah, I think it depends on, I approach my marketing. The reality of the first one is affordability,
yes, very good
right?
point.
Yeah. And right now, until I can afford to really go even expansive, I look for ways that are affordable and yet make a greatest impact. And so, given technology has taken over, AI is taking over, everyone has some form of device in their hands.
Mm,
And so, the technology approach is so much, for me, so much more impactful than print form.
yes, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Affordability
so
and
I think it
technology.
depends on who, once you get into what you want to do, who you want to serve, then you figure out those who you want to serve, where are they?
Yeah.
How can you reach them,
Mm,
right? If they are of the type that will read a newspaper, read a magazine, still subscribe to, then by all means do the print. But if you're reaching an audience that is going to spend their time on their device and on their laptop, whatever, then so it really depends. And that's where about the clarity of your plan, and
yeah,
that includes that marketing plan
yeah.
and where your tribe is and what kind of problem you're solving. And that will guide your marketing because I have done both. Even as a matter of fact, I don't print my business cards.
No, it's not necessary anymore, is it? In so
I will
many
show you.
areas. And depending on, as you say, on who the ideal client. Ah, amazing. And if you're listening to us, it's a QR code that's popping up on our screen. Yeah.
Yes. And the QR code, this is what I bring anytime I have a speaking engagement or when I do my workshops. I
Ah,
have aside from my giveaways and my brochures and some things, because there are some things that are a lot for them to remember, then I do have a giveaway that
mhm.
puts it on print form. But I don't have business cards anymore. And I tell you why, not just because it's print form. I've learned that when I used to go to trade shows, everybody had business cards.
That was
And
the way, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. And at the end of the day, we all compete like who had the most business cards, right? But that is benefiting the person that is collecting. That does not benefit yet the vendor.
So true.
So when you have a QR code, it entails or it invites your client to also put in their contact information. So now you have their information to proactively market to. Whereas if you just have business card, you print out 100 people take it. Do you have their contact information?
Not
No.
at all. No.
QR code, you may have 100 people scan it. Maybe even if it is 25 people that decide that, okay, I'll put in you have 25 people's contact.
Well, there you are, folks listening. What a good tip. What a good tip. It makes huge sense, isn't it? Because as you and I know, it's building your list and it's a way to follow up with valuable information. And when people put in their details, it's because they want to hear more. But those business cards, I think I've still got some around my desk I collected years ago. So
Me
did I,
too.
did I ever contact the people? Probably not, because I'll have forgotten really what they were doing as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
technology used correctly is an amazing thing.
Yes.
So, what else would you like to tell us about starting a business? I'm going to give you an open-ended question there.
Um, every day I have to remind myself why I started this business because every day no one else is motivating you except yourself. And that is what inspires me. Now, that is the romanticized version. But the reality also is, yes, you got to have boots on the ground and you got to market. You have to amplify, you have to advocate. You cannot be shy about that. You have to be comfortable in reaching out to your contacts, your network, because it all starts from a nucleus before it ripples out. Those who believed in you, and that's why that reputation, your brand, is just such an important asset for you to treasure and for you to nourish because that is the best marketing that you ever can have. When you reach out to someone to say, do you have a moment? You hope that person say yes rather than go and run the other way.
As, as
Yeah.
can happen indeed, yeah, with the wrong approach. Yes.
Yeah. But at the same time, coaching, as much as is saturated, is also not a well-known, publicized service yet.
Mm.
Because I think too often people immediately think about therapy
Yes.
rather than coaching. And I
Mm.
really invite people to think about, is it therapy they need, or is it coaching they need, or is it consulting, or is it mentoring? And if you're not clear on what each of those distinctions are and what each of those professionals can serve you, I invite you to reach out to me. And even if you're not looking for solving a problem that I serve, if you just want to understand what the distinctions are, so you don't waste your money, you don't waste your time on something that isn't serving what you truly need.
Yeah. That's such a valuable point because I think most of us who've been running businesses a bit down that path, we've all taken a wrong turn and picked up, how can I say it delicately, basically paid for something that wasn't delivered. Now, maybe that's our fault. Maybe it's the coach or the therapist's fault, but it's a really wise advice, which I think most people listening will say, yeah, I can relate to that. I've taken a wrong turn. So it's our responsibility as coaches, teachers, educators, as you said so wisely, to make sure we're asking for the right service, and that's the one we need.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because your money is such hard-earned
Mm,
currency and your time is so valuable.
yeah, time.
And you as an individual matter so much, and you want to find the right people to help you
Yeah,
with whatever you need help with, whether starting a business or whether surviving in life or whether doing well at work, whatever it might be. So, yeah.
absolutely. And when I visited your website, and I've been to your website quite a few times, this is what so impressed me. It's very clear, and I love the way that you make that visitor help them understand what it is you do and if they need you or someone else. But listeners, you heard what Alice said. If you're not sure, reach out to her, and you could start on the right path earlier than taking those wrong turns. I hope I said that clearly. Let's.
You did. You absolutely
Thank
did.
you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Alice. Now, before I ask you my final questions, is there anything else that you would like to say to our audience? Perhaps something that we haven't talked about here? Any other advice from the coaching point of view or the business point of view? And then I have my magic questions for you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. What I want to leave the listeners with is you have a supportive community out there. I know we live in a world that we feel oftentimes invisible.
Yeah.
And as much as we are commercialized on social media, oftentimes, well, the biggest issues is loneliness. And I just want people to know that you're not alone. Whatever you're wrestling with, whatever you're challenged with, know that you're not alone.
Wow,
You
beautiful.
just need to find the right listeners and the right support. And there are people out there who are so willing to support you in the most compassionate, credible, knowledgeable way. So just, you're not alone.
Thank you, Alice. That is a beautiful thought and a lovely reminder. So, what an amazing thing to take away from our conversation. So, listeners, if you remember one thing, just bear in mind what Alice has just said. Now, Alice, I'm going to change the tempo a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know you've listened to some of my other guests on the podcast. You're in this scenario where you're on this beautiful island. It's lovely. You've got the sea, the trees. It's just everything. It's sort of Robinson Crusoe place, okay? And I do allow my guests to have their family there, the ones they want. So the question is, if you could take one book with you, what book would you take? Just one book. I must say that you've already got Shakespeare and you've got the faith book of your choice. So what other book would
Mm.
you take?
Oh, goodness.
There's so many books out there on there.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
I love a considered answer. This is brilliant.
I don't know if anybody said it because it's certainly not a canned answer. I want to take the Bible with me.
You've already got the Bible because you've got the faith book of your choice.
I would love to bring a self-help book, even though I'm on an island and because I'm of the type that I like to figure things out. And if I am on an island, I gotta, especially a Robinson Crusoe, how do I build a tree house? How do I get food? How am I gonna live to the next day? What kind of food is safe to eat and what is not? And also keep my mind going.
Yes, that's true with projects. Yeah. Okay, now we've got two more questions. So we won't work out how you're going to play it, but you can choose one piece of music. So what music would you take with you?
Oh, I always love maybe because my oldest son, I'm the youngest of four, but I would always love my old classics, songs that I can sing along. Yeah, because that just allows me to be a part of it and immerse into it.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
But I'm going to pin you down to one, so we need a name.
Oh, oh dear. I
All
am
right.
not good with that one
No, I'm
because my husband would never have me on your team for name that tune in 10 notes or less.
I tell you
Uh,
what, I'm glad I'm not the only one. So I'm let you get away with that because I was being asked the question I wouldn't know. So we'll let you get away with that one. So I'm
thank
going to
you.
move on.
I can say the Bee Gees. I'm sorry, the Beatles.
The Beatles, yeah. Okay, food. So you mentioned that the family had a restaurant, but what sort of food would you take with you? You could take one item of food, like your favorite food, and you would have an endless supply of it.
Oh,
It's a very magical island, obviously.
oh, yeah. So not a cuisine, huh? But just one food. I would love to have my breakfast, like
Ah,
pancakes and waffles and sausages and bacons and eggs and omelets and yeah,
you're going to make me hungry
any.
saying all that. Yes, and it's a fantastic start to the day before you go off fishing and hunting and building
Yes.
your house. Alice, it's been a huge pleasure to have you on the podcast. I cannot thank you enough, and the advice you've given for our guests in so many ways is invaluable. So before I give you our final word, please, listeners, do remember all Alice's contact points will be below, and if you're looking at the YouTube version, look below. You can see how to reach out to her, see her website. And no more from me. Alice, over to you for any final sentence, word, or reiteration.
Oh, thank you so much, first of all, Susan. It has been just as I imagined it. It has been an honor to be invited to be on your
Thank you.
podcast, and you make it so much fun to participate in it. And I the word that I two words I cheat that I want to leave with my listeners. Remember that you matter and
Thank
take care of yourself in all ways because life is not always easy,
you.
but life is precious
Thank
and
you.
you matter in that sphere.
Yes. Amazing. You matter. What a lovely way to finish. Alice, once again, thank you very much. Speak to you soon. Bye bye for now.
Thank you.